Welcome to Not Starving Artist, the podcast. I'm your host, Brooke Benson, money coach and equity actor. I am your financial cheerleader, here to help you build your financial confidence and have power over your money. The best part, no budgeting or bi-weekly paychecks required. I went from being a broke BFA grad having weekly panic attacks about money to a financially confident, wealth-building actor and business owner. Money gets to feel fun, simple, and sexy, and I am going to show you how. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. Today, I want to talk about what keeping up with the Joneses looks like now and how this version of keeping up with the Joneses is keeping you from the financial reality that you actually want, from money actually feeling easy and fun and exciting for you. Okay, so for those of you who haven't heard the phrase keeping up with the Joneses before, what this means is kind of an old school phrase, right? Because it doesn't exist in the way that it used to exist anymore, but it does still sneakily exist. So keeping up with the Joneses is this idea that like the family down the street, the Jones family, has the big house, the big car, the perfectly manicured lawn. They have all the cool like accoutrement that suburban life requires or that you want when you're in like, you know, family town, American dream suburbia. They go on all the vacations, right? Perfectly manicured nuclear family dream, right? And keeping up with the Joneses was this idea that people were spending money to try and be more like the Joneses, to try and keep up with that kind of dream and lifestyle and standard of living that they couldn't actually afford. And it was for like perceptions, right? And how people viewed you and feeling like you were successful, right? If you had what the Joneses had. Nowadays, we don't have that anymore, right? Like it still exists, but those of you who are listening to this podcast, we're not in that kind of lifestyle, right? Like trying to get the bigger and better house because the neighbor down the street has the big house. Like that's not a struggle that we have these days, right? But this energy of keeping up with the Joneses exists in a different realm now for us, okay? And what that is aesthetics and curation, okay? Our new keeping up with the Joneses is aesthetics and curation, thanks to social media, Instagram, pictures, Pinterest, all of that good stuff. Because when we think about where keeping up with the Joneses came from, a lot of it had to do with outward perception of you. Right? So like when people would do a drive-by through the neighborhood, they would notice the big houses and like you wanted to be the one with the big nice house. You wanted your neighbors to look at you like when your neighbors walked out the door and saw your house, you wanted them to think a certain thing about you, right? And there wasn't a lot of like external widespread view of your life. And so where your energy went to, right? If you were in this time where like keeping up with the Joneses meant like the house and the car and the curated lawn, right? And other things too, but those were the main ones. When you were in that era, it was because the people who you were trying to impress or like show something to were the people who were driving by your literal home, right? Who were in your physical vicinity, right? Your physical community geographically. Now with Instagram, with TikTok, with Pinterest, right? With the rise of influencers, with being able to have eyes on your life and how you're living and the things that you have in every facet being so much wider and so much more accessible. This keeping up with the Joneses energy has turned into curating little pieces of your lifestyle. So curating your outfits, right? Having aesthetics in your home, wherever you're like filming your content, right? The aesthetic picture when you're out at literally the Instagram worthy bar with the big, sign in the background with the leaves and the flowers that like everyone has the picture in front of. Like restaurants and bars literally create walls that are Instagram worthy or have drinks that are ridiculous because they know that there's this curation, this desire to like be able to show and have this keeping up with the Joneses energy, but via Instagram, via Pinterest, via TikTok, right? Like that's now a whole sector of business is making sure something is Instagram worthy, okay? So keeping up with the Joneses still exists. It just now looks like curation of every bit of your life. And what I mean by curation, I've given a couple examples already, but like the athleisure fits, right? Like the matching sets with like the gold layered jewelry necklace and like the sunglasses and like the very specific tennis shoes, right? And like, don't get me started on socks right now, right? But like which socks you wear with the thing, you have like your whole little outfit, okay? So like that's an example of curation. And then we have like home decor, interior design curation, right? And so what that looks like is you're trying to piece together your whole living room with this certain vibe and this certain style, and you have your Pinterest board and you're buying all these like decorations and a specific type of couch and a specific type of chair, and you're trying to piece it all together so that like the whole thing is like a perfect picture, so that when you're like taking pictures in your room or like when you walk out, it looks like a Pinterest board, right? Like that's curation. I am now on Book Talk, on Bookstagram. I have ended up on that side of social media because I have got, for those of you who don't know yet, I have just completed the ACOTAR series, all 5 books. Didn't realize, by the way, that there was gonna be more than 5 books. I thought it was a tie up in a bow in the series by the end of the 5th book, so now I'm upset I have to wait for the next one. So I've gotten really into these books, okay? And I have a friend who, she and I, we send ACOTAR memes back and forth to each other all the time. So that means now I'm on Book Talk, okay? Now I am on Bookstagram. And being on this side of Instagram, I'm seeing this whole other realm of curation where it is people who are like really into reading, really into books, have full libraries, right? And there's all of these special editions and like making all of the books look so beautiful next to each other, and have like a whole room in their apartment as a dedicated library. And they have the beautiful chairs and these shelves, and like everything is in pristine condition, and they're like collecting all of these books, and they have all of these different like figurines, but everything is so beautifully laid out. And so there's this whole realm of like, even in the reading sector of like, well, if you're on Book Talk, right? If you're a reader, if you're into fairy romance, right? There's now this level of keeping up with the Joneses of having this like perfectly curated library. Keeping up with the Joneses has gotten so niche depending on your desires and your likes and what you're into. So like if you're into reading, right, you now have this realm whenever you open Instagram of this standard that you might not even realize that you're subconsciously trying to achieve and get, this like perfectly curated library in your apartment or in your home. If you're a gym girly, like in the health and fitness world, it might be the curated gym sets, right? Like that you're wearing to the gym, or the type of gym that you're in, right? That you get to like take pictures at, or right, like interior design, having the perfectly curated living room or bedroom, right? Like you see all of the images on Instagram or on Pinterest of people doing home tours, and you're like, again, subconsciously like, oh, that's what I want. Like I love how that looks. Like I want that. If you're into baking or cooking, right? So many different like tools and appliances and like how a kitchen looks, right? Could be another version of keeping up with the Joneses. If you're a gamer, right? Like when we're talking like actual like online games, like not physical board games, we've got like the Twitch world, like the live streaming world where you have the chair and the lights and the aesthetics there. And then we also have like physical board games. There's a whole board game side of TikTok, right? Where everyone's showing off their games, but kind of like Book Talk, you've got all these shelves and like acquiring all like the special editions of the board games and all this stuff. Keeping up with the Joneses has creeped into every single hobby and niche and desire, because the world, like the American dream of having the big house and the car, isn't really what one, we want anymore, desire, or two, is a reality for most people anymore, right? So that energy has now latched itself on to like our little hobbies and our little things that we like, right? And our little apartment that we just want to like live and sleep in and feel good in, right? There's become these impossible aesthetic curated standards that are now subconsciously making you feel like your hobby or your home or your closet is not good enough. And what I have seen this turn into is spending to try and achieve that goal that's not actually making you happy. You're spending $20 on this fucking tchotchke that's like on your table, that's one of those, you know, like curved stone kind of vase things that maybe you put a candle in and it's like, oh, it's just like one piece of your bookshelf, but you need like 6 different tchotchkes to make your bookshelf look like the curated bookshelf. But then you look at it and you're like, well, it's not a complete set. So then you have to move on to your coffee table, and which like 3 coffee table books get stacked so that they look beautiful with the nice candle, right? And then we need the throw pillows and the blanket, and oh, we need to paint this wall and da-da-da. And you do all of this stuff and you're spending and spending and spending to try and create this full picture, and it's never going to feel done. It's never going to feel done. Or if you finally do like complete the picture, then it's like, okay, now what? Does it actually bring you the kind of joy that warranted the kind of spending you did on it? Or B, that actually felt worth it? Like, was it worth it? All the things that you did, right? Same with, like when I think about these libraries, right, that are on Book Talk, that you see with all these special editions that you're not even touching or reading, right? Like people don't want to crack the spines. I'm a cracked spine girly, right? Like when I get a book, like I want used books. I do not want new books. I want books to be passed around. I'm a library girl, so it's like I'm gonna crack a spine. I've gotten away from folding pages. I do use bookmarks now, right? That's the one thing I have conceded on. But like all of these books that are on these shelves that are never getting used, they're just to like be an aesthetic, be a curation. And I will say too, there is a very small part of the population who could actually get immense joy from that kind of curation. But I'm telling you right now, it's not you, right? It is that small of a percentage of a population that would actually warrant the kind of spending that would create that would then give you a similar ROI joy-wise to be able to sit in that library and look at it for just hours, right? And you're just like soaking up all the joy sitting in your library, looking at all your special collections, right? I have a client who actually lived this multiple times over. Every time he would move to a new place, he had like a couple of different places that he moved into over the past like 10 years. And every time he moved into a new place, he basically recurated the entire interior design of the place he was living. So new furniture, he's like an art connoisseur, right? So he put up all these decorations, right? And like curated this place. And then he would move and do it all over again. And then we would move and do it all over again. And so when we started working together, we really started diving into like, what is the root of wanting to curate a space? Because he was never fully happy with it, right? He would curate it and then he'd be like, either something's missing or it's never done, or, you know, I did it and now I want to move. Like there was never a full satisfied completion that came from all the money that was being spent on this kind of curation. And so what we got to the root of was like, why is the curation feel necessary? Okay. And there's a couple of reasons now that I want to give you that are the reason you're drawn towards this kind of curation, whether it's your home, whether it's your clothes, whether it's some hobby you have, some niche that you're into, okay? One of the things is the outward perception of you, right? So other people looking at you and saying like, wow, she's got it together. She's made it, right? Or like they really know what they're doing, or like, oh, they have a lot of money, like those sorts of thoughts that you're wanting to have from other people. Okay, that's one reason. The second reason is it could be like a community focused reason, or you know, this idea of, let's take a curated home, for example. This idea of you being able to bring people into your home and host, whether it's family or friends or dinner parties or whatever, and bringing them into this beautifully curated home. And there's something that you're attaching this curation of a home to an enjoyment with people. Like you want community, you want this like bustling life of relationships, and your brain has equated having a perfect home with that true like root evolutionary desire of having community. That could be a reason. Another reason is completion, having a goal that you can tangibly achieve. This is especially true for those of us who have graduated college, right? You've graduated, you're now in your late 20s, early 30s, approaching 40s. This is rampant in this age range, is this idea of needing something that you can tangibly achieve and complete, especially if you are not in a 9-to-5 corporate structure that gives you a corporate ladder that you can climb. If you are out here in freelance artist, business owner, no man's land, it is so enticing to have a goal or have something that you're working towards that feels like it has a completion element to it, a gold star element to it, you've hit the thing, you've done the thing, here's the steps to get there energy. So like, when we're thinking about, let's say, curating a closet, right? Getting your perfect wardrobe, getting a capsule wardrobe. Oh my God. It is everywhere. As I'm recording this podcast, I'm like, yeah, there's literally nowhere that this curation, keeping up with the Joneses energy has not touched. So if we're thinking about your wardrobe, right? Creating the perfect capsule wardrobe gives you a project to complete and achieve. And it's that achievement point that we're striving for, that we used to get in school, right? Where you would like complete a project, get an A, right? You would graduate high school, you would get into college, you would be working to get into college, you get into college, you get into the BFA program you wanted to get into, and you would go, and then you'd be like on your way to completing the degree. You have all of these check boxes that you have to hit, right? Of classes, and like, right, let's try and get into the show. Like there were very clear benchmarks of how to be successful and achieve in the schooling structure, and that there still is inside of like a corporate structure, okay? But when then you're out here in the wild, right? When you're like past that early adulthood and you're not in a job that you're actively wanting to climb the corporate ladder for, or you've realized you're in the corporate structure and you're like, wait, I don't want to climb this ladder. What ends up happening is you're like, whoa, wait. Where's the gold star? Where's the achievement that I can be striving for? Like, where is the meaning of my life if I don't have something that I'm striving for? And that's a really big question, by the way, that I just threw in there. But what it comes down to is like that question of, what am I doing? What am I striving for? What are the goals that I want? That's a much bigger and scarier question that then sometimes gets like overshadowed by, let me create my capsule wardrobe. I can get these pieces and I'm going to do my research and I'm going to go out and find these things and buy these things. And then I'm going to have this capsule wardrobe and then boom, done, gold star completion. There's something like dopamine heavy about that, of like, fuck yeah, let me curate that and have this finished product that makes me feel like I've completed something, that gives me a sense of accomplishment, okay? And that's what so many of us feel like we're missing, right? That you might feel like you're missing, that is making you so drawn towards this curation idea in whatever area you're finding yourself being pulled towards it in. This leads me into the fourth reason that you could be feeling this pull, which is filling a void. Filling a void. It's really easy to fill a big question you might be asking yourself, like in life, right? Like maybe an existential crisis you might be having. I feel like all of us are really battling existential crises these days, right? Just like with the world and like, why are we here? And what is our purpose? And what's our role in all the shit that's happening in this world right now, right? While also just wanting to have a great life. Like these are the big questions that are rolling around in our head. And so those big questions might lead you to want to answer smaller questions that feel more tangible, right? Which is like, how do I fix my wardrobe? How do I fix my living room? How do I fix my hobby? How do I make my hobby feel so like complete and together and okay? Because there's all these bigger things that like I'm not really ready to think about or face or XYZ. Now, the final reason you might be feeling a pull towards this is because you want to feel like you've made it. Your life is together and you are an adult, right? In your own, this is like an intrinsic motivator rather than an extrinsic motivator. Is that the right word? Extrinsic? Yeah. So you're wanting to feel like I'm an adult. I made it. I'm okay. My life is together. And you think that what's going to give you that feeling is having the perfect house, having the perfect closet, being able to post the perfect pictures, having the bachelorette parties and weddings. We haven't even talked about this yet. Bachelorette parties and weddings, having the perfectly aesthetic wedding, having the Pinterest wedding, having the bachelorette party where you've like got it all decorated and everyone has all like the wigs or the costumes, or like we have the theme nights or whatever, or like a birthday party that had like, there is so much when it comes to like events and parties that is so much more focused and surrounded by the aesthetics of it and how it's going to look in pictures versus the actual experience that you're having during it, okay? And so what these like being able to post those pictures and say, I did this thing, it's giving you the energy of like, I've made it, my life is together, I'm an adult. And this, the pull towards wanting to have the thought I'm an adult or really feel like an adult is one of the most dangerous thoughts you can have, that I want you to start clocking and switching immediately today. After you listen to this episode, I want you to hear if your brain is giving you that thought over and over and over again. I'm going to talk about this in an episode soon about financial infantilization that has happened with millennials and Gen Z, right? Of like adulting, we're adulting, right? And this energy of not feeling like in power with your money and how you've navigated your life because of all the bullshit that was handed down to us, right? And I'm getting into the other episode too soon, but we're going to come to that, right? But I want to like clock that that's a thought that can be really dangerous, because that thought is going to have you buying a house when you don't actually want to buy a house. It's going to have you spending thousands of dollars on redoing your living room when you don't actually give a fuck about how your living room looks, right? It's going to have you curating a capsule wardrobe when you're someone like me who likes to wear tie-dye and Hawaiian shirts that would never fit into a capsule wardrobe, right? So clock when that thought is happening, okay? But this is that final reason, right? Like wanting to feel put together. And what's actually going to make you feel put together is stuff that's going to take more effort than curating a living room, where you have a template that you can follow on Pinterest, right? Or like curating a library where you have all of these inspirations and these books that you can go find special editions for and buy, and like do the project of putting together the shelves and painting. Like there's a very clear list of things you can do to curate a thing and have a finished product, okay? Rather than what's actually going to make you feel like you've made it is having a thriving community of people that support you and cheer you on. Living in a city that actually allows you the opportunities that you desire to have. No matter what your apartment looks like, it's living in the place you want to live. What's going to make you feel like you've made it and that you're an adult is having a very regulated nervous system, not constantly feeling stressed and spiked and triggered in your day-to-day life. What's going to make you feel like you've got your life together isn't how many vacations you take a year. It's how peaceful you feel day to day to day, right? So it's all of these things that are a lot less about spending money to curate a perfect picture. And it's about like, how am I actually feeling in my day-to-day life that a curated apartment or a curated closet is not actually going to give me. So here's your homework. I want you to think about all those reasons, and I want you to think about which one spoke to you the most, and then I want you to go journal on it. Like, let's get deeper into what exactly are the thoughts in your head saying when you're trying to curate a thing. Now, once you've done that journaling and you've thought about your reasons, I want you to think about what is the end goal going to give you. If you think about, okay, I've curated the perfect home, I've curated the perfect library, I've curated the perfect kitchen, the perfect wardrobe, whatever it is. Then you're going to think about why, or what is the thing that you're going to feel once that is completed, once you have it. So let's take the wardrobe, for example. What is the feeling that you want to have from a curated wardrobe? Is it being able to spend less time getting dressed in the morning? Is it being able to like take really cute pictures in the mirror so you can post them on Instagram? Is it so that you can walk into an audition feeling really confident confident in any outfit that you've put on? Is it so that you can walk about the city in the summer and have clothes that don't show sweat marks because you know you're going to be sweating your ass off every minute of every day from June to October, right? Like, what is the actual end goal? Or are you getting to the end of it and you're like, I just think there's no real goal at the end. It's just like, I've done it, or it will make me happy, right? Get clear on what that actual end result is that you're looking for. Because at the end of the day, curation in and of itself will never make you happy. Curation will not make you happy. It's what the curation is going to give you that could make you happy. But let's actually see if there's a real correlation between the curation and what you want to happen. So in this wardrobe example, if you're wanting to spend less time in the morning getting dressed, like if you always feel like you have nothing to wear and you think a curated capsule wardrobe is what's going to solve that problem, let's actually get clear about what the problem is. Like when you go to get dressed in the morning, what do you feel about each and every one of your pieces? What's the piece that you feel is consistently missing? Like, I'll give you an example from my life. I was feeling this way and I was like, I need a whole wardrobe overhaul. And then I was like, no, I don't. I don't need a wardrobe overhaul. What I needed is a high-waisted pair of black slacks that I could wear with 6 shirts that I was really excited to wear. I just didn't have the right set of pants for it. So I'm like, okay, I don't need a curated wardrobe. I just need a pair of pants that I can wear all of my favorite shirts with. And I did that, and now my wardrobe feels fantastic. Okay, so I want you to get to the root of what the actual problem is. When you're feeling a desire to have the perfect bookshelf in your perfect living room, what do you think is going to be the end goal? This was one of the exercises I walked with one of my clients through. Is imagine yourself sitting on the couch of your perfectly curated living room. What's happening and what do you feel and what do you think? Put yourself in that finished product, right? What do you expect it to drum up in you? And then what of that can you give yourself now, right? Like, what is keeping you from feeling those things and thinking those things now? Because it's probably not the whole ass living room. Maybe it's the fact that you're the chair that you want to read your newspaper in every morning. What? Who reads newspapers anymore? I don't know why that just came up. That you want to read your book in every morning, right? Or like scroll on Instagram in every morning. The chair that you have near the window is so uncomfortable. And so you feel like you can't enjoy your living room, but you're thinking you have to do this whole overhaul because like, I don't like sitting in my living room. When really, if you just got a really great chair that you love to sit in with a cozy blanket that doesn't need to be like a name brand blanket, you can go get one from TJ Maxx that's super cozy and soft. That would solve the problem that you're actually trying to solve, because you want to be able to wake up in the morning and be excited to go sit in your living room and read your book before you start the day with your cup of coffee. Go solve for that problem rather than trying to curate a whole living room to solve the problem of like not wanting to be in the living room, okay? Get clear on what you want the curation to solve for you and then go solve the actual problem. And why I feel so strongly about like de-influencing this curation bug that has infiltrated every single area of our lives, this aesthetic, this new keeping up with the Joneses energy, is because you're going to spend so much money on something that isn't going to bring you joy. I want you to you know that we are spending girlies over here. Spending is the most important money skill. We love her. Spending money is so much fun. It's so delicious. It's so juicy. But it only is that way if you're spending money on things that actually make you happy or actually improve your quality of life, not spending money on shit that doesn't. I want you soaking the most joy out of your dollars as possible. And curation is not the biggest bang for your buck. It is not, because curation at the end of the day will never make you happy. There are billionaires out there and like celebrities who have multiple homes that just remain unfurnished and unused because they want it to be perfectly curated. So they are literally not using a full ass home that they bought because they need the perfect table and they just haven't found the perfect table yet. So they're not using that home, right? Like, this problem doesn't go away when you have all the money in the world. It doesn't. It's a thought of like, I want this to be curated because I think it's going to make me happy, or I think it's going to make me X, Y, and Z. I want you to use your dollars and use the things that then you put your dollars towards, right? Like, I want you to look, the amount of like bullshit tchotchkes that I see people buying just because it's like aesthetic and cute to put on your coffee table. I'm like, you put that in like any random room, not with all of the other stuff, and it looks so dumb. Like, why did you spend $20 on that when you're feeling guilty about spending, you know, $5 on a coffee? Like, the coffee that you get on your way to work is going to bring you so much more joy, and you're feeling guilty about it because you've heard this vernacular of like, oh yeah, buying coffee out is such a waste of money, right? Just make it at home. But then you're buying a $20 tchotchke that doesn't make you happy when you look at it by itself. It's just part of this curation that ends up not making you happy anyway. Like, what are we doing, y'all? We gotta be spending your dollars on shit that brings you so much joy, right? Like joy purchases. Dopamine Decor. That's a new trend that came out, you know, a couple of months ago, where it's like you decorate your home with only things that make you happy. But now Dopamine Decor has become a keeping up with the Joneses energy in and of itself, because it's become its own aesthetic that you have to achieve and aspire to. So you're buying shit that's like Dopamine Decor, but it's not actually things that make you happy individually. You're just trying to copy someone else's version of Dopamine Decor because you like how they've curated their thing. No. We need to just go back to like shit that makes you happy, spend money on it individually. Shit that doesn't make you happy, don't spend money on it, right? Because your dollars have so much power, and I want your dollars to only be used to bring you joy. Right? That's how you heal your relationship with money, is when you show yourself that your money, every dollar that you spend, brings you so much deliciousness, right? And you're so excited to spend. Every single time you swipe your card, every dollar feels like it has weight, feels like it has value. And that's not a like, know where every dollar goes because every dollar has value. It's you have this beautiful, intimate relationship with your money where you're like, baby cakes, and this is me talking to my dollars, like, baby cakes, I'm going to use you to like buy this. I'm wearing a vintage Jimmy Buffett t-shirt that I got on eBay, and I am obsessed with it. I spent $25-$30 on this shirt, maybe less. But when I spent money on this shirt, I was like, fuck to the yes, right? I'm not trying to create a capsule wardrobe. I'm buying a piece of vintage Jimmy Buffett clothing that I know when I wear, I light the fuck up, right? When I found these earrings in a thrift store, I was like, are you kidding me? Art Deco pineapples? Absolutely fuck yes, right? When I wear them, they make me so happy. Our bedroom in our apartment is not curated. I have a pair of curtains that I'm obsessed with that are blackout curtains because utility, right? We need blackout curtains. But the pattern makes me really happy. But other than that, like, sure, we want a headboard at some point, but our current bed frame doesn't have a headboard, so we're like not worried about it. We needed a dresser for utilitarian purposes, right? To hold our clothes, but we didn't go get like the perfect, you know, aesthetic dresser because we know that like our bedroom is for sleeping and sex. Like, we don't need to like sit in there and be like, look at our curated bedroom. Like that energy wasn't something that we knew would give us the most bang for our buck, right? We'd rather use that, you know, $1,500 that we would have spent curating our bedroom, we'd rather just go to the Bahamas. So do you see how it's like doing prioritization in real time when you're thinking about how you utilize your dollars? So here's a tactical exercise that I'm going to give you to play with this week. Now, this is an exercise. This is not a way of living. This is an exercise to help you clock into where are you trying to achieve curation when you could actually solve a problem with what you already have. So if you are someone who is wanting to like curate their living room or curate their bedroom or curate like interior design wise, you are for the next month not allowed to spend money on interior design things or things for your living room or your bedroom or anything. Or give yourself like a really small cap, right? Give yourself like $100 that you're allowed to spend on it. And go see what you can do within that $100 or within that no spend, okay? If you're having issues with your closet, right? I want you to go play inside of your closet and you're not allowed to spend any money. My friend Harriet is doing 365 days of no spending on her wardrobe, on any clothes. So she talks about creating a forever wardrobe, like every piece she loves and she uses, and she can literally not spend money on clothes for an entire year. Brilliant. I want you to go play with that idea. And so for a month or 2 months or 3 months or however long, you're not allowed to spend any new money on clothes. How can you use what you already have? And then what that's going to do is it's going to make it so clear where the holes are that you actually want to spend money on, right? So when I was doing this, I realized it was a really great pair of slacks. That's literally what I was missing, and a belt, right? Those were the 2 things I was missing. I didn't need a whole wardrobe. I just needed those 2 things. So I want you to play with, give yourself constraints, give yourself a small amount of money, or tell yourself no money for a certain amount of time, so that your brain can get more creative of how can we solve this problem without throwing money at curation, okay? Or how can we solve this problem with what we already have? And then at the end of that time frame, you are actually so much more clear on what you need or what you want to put money towards to actually solve the problem that arose that you couldn't do with what you currently have, okay? So you're gonna do that in whatever area you feel like that curation bug towards, you're gonna do this exercise for it. I hope you get so much clarity from this exercise. I can't wait to hear how it goes. And a reminder, this is not a way of living. This is an exercise to get very clear on what you do actually wanna spend money on, so that everything you spend on is juicy and delicious and fun. Have a great week, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in. Come join me on Instagram for more on how to build a simple, sexy relationship with your money. My Instagram handle is @NotStarvingArtists. And if you want to dive deeper with me, head to the show notes to learn more about one-on-one coaching. If you love this episode, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend that you want to get rich with.